Hi everyone. Here's the supplies that I picked up at the store that you want for making homemade kimchi. So at the store you saw me pick up daikon root, green onions, carrots, well the carrots I had at home, yellow onions, Asian fruit, a little bit of ginger, and of course Napa cabbage. This is a rice flour that you'll want in order to make the porridge. And then of course you need the red pepper in order to make it a little spicy. Then this is optional, but this is dried shrimp. If you look at some recipes, they tell you to use maybe fresh shrimp or canned shrimp. You can substitute as that. I usually take dried shrimp and I'll grind it and add it. It's whatever your preference would be too. So, and again, other recipes also, you can leave out the Asian fruit, but it actually allows the kimchi to have kind of a sweeter taste to it. So again, this is a Thai version rice flour, but if you look online, you should see the variations of it, but you'll need that in order to make the porridge consistency. So yeah, let's start working on making kimchi. Okay, so the first process of making fresh kimchi is we need to cut up the Napa cabbage. So you'll see one Napa cabbage. They all come in various sizes. This one is actually exceptionally large, but depending on how big a batch you want to make, it just depends on the size. This is probably more than sufficient to last us quite a while. So you want to cut this up. I've already rinsed this. So, and then this is the process of soaking the Napa cabbage, and we'll be using, of course, kosher salt. Some Korean recipes will say to use Korean salt, but salt is salt in my opinion. So again, how I'm going to cut it up, it all depends on how you want to do it yourself. Some channels that you'll see, they'll cut it in long strips. I prefer to cut it in small pieces just so that it's a little easier to manage. So let's cut this up. So the whole point of this rinsing process is we want to make the cabbage, which is very stiff right now, pliable. And it helps to kind of rinse it and to let it soak in the salt bath that we'll use here. And then I have my mixing bowl, a very large one that I cut it up in. So I know there's many ways of cutting Napa cabbage. You can see many videos on it. I forgot to also mention that some of the ingredients that I went over, some people will use kelp, which is like a seaweed, a sea seaweed that you can add to it. Again, it all depends on your preference of how you want it to taste, the kimchi. So you want to cube this up. So again, some Korean recipes, they'll keep it in long stalks. They cut off this end piece, which is very stiff. Again, I only like to cut it in smaller pieces to make it a little bit more manageable. So I'll cut this off. Ooh. And if you're wondering why I'm cutting it at an angle, there's different tastes of the leaves that you want to kind of incorporate in this making kimchi. So it just kind of allows you to get the full flavor. So yeah, there's nothing rocket science about cutting this up. Okay, so you'll see that I got it all cut up. That was just one huge Napa cabbage. Now for feeding my husband and my son and I, this is more than enough. So obviously if you want, you're entertaining a crowd or you like to have kimchi left over for several days, you can make a bigger batch. This is how much I like to make. And I would suggest investing into a nice colander like this. It stretches out over the sink. One of the channels that I watch, her name is Manji. She uses something very similar. So what we want to now do is start soaking the kimchi, or the Napa cabbage in a salt bath to allow it to start softening the leaves. And this could take, half hour, 2 hours. And I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna rinse and strain and then put more salt, let it soak for about an hour, rinse, and sometimes you can do this 2 to 3 times. And you want to just start looking at the leaves when they start to be pliable. So let's add some salt. Spread salt very generously, and you want to cover as much of the leaves as possible. I should add that if anybody has like high blood pressure or anything, kimchi, while it's a good probiotic, it's not the most low sodium type of probiotic out there. So if anybody has high blood pressure, you might want to eat this sparingly, let's just say. Okay, just use some cold water and fill it up. And like I said before, we're just gonna allow it to soak for about an hour or so. I'll come out and I'll check on it, rinse it, let it drain, and then do the process over again. Alright, so we're back with the next part of the process. I've already done a little prep work. We need to chop up the fresh vegetables. So as I mentioned earlier about shrimp, you can get either fresh shrimp or dried shrimp. I prefer dried shrimp because it lasts a little longer. You can buy dried shrimp in any kind of Asian restaurant. So this one I bought at a Korean grocery store. And then I just simply ground it up with a simple coffee grinder. Then you just get like the powder form like this. So that's done. So now I've already washed and peeled this is a daikon radish. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Carrots, peeled the outside of it, washed the scallions. So you want to just at this point chop and get that in manageable bite size to put aside or mix it into the kimchi later. And of course, there's not any set specific cups of this. I just kind of eyeball it. You can add more or less depending on the kind of taste that you want. I used about 2 stalks of scallions and about 2 carrots. And then with the carrots and the daikon that you want to do some julienne style type of cutting. Now you can get those fancy choppers that can do it for you, but I tend to like to do it manually for some reason. So hopefully it not cut my finger off. So yeah, julienne style cut like that, or they say matchsticks. This is a word that they use. You'll know when you start cutting all the vegetables, and later on they'll be cutting up the yellow onions. Talk about making you cry. Whew. So I'm not going to keep cutting up the carrots, but you get this, the kind of the gist of it being julienne style. Here's the daikon root. I'm going to cut also julienne style. Sometimes these, the daikon root can be massive. And I think it's such a waste because I don't usually tend to use all that much in a recipe, but it has a nice flavor in the batch, so. So yep, there's an example of how I start cutting all that down, but so we're just gonna fast forward to all that. Okay, the next portion is gotta blend the other parts of the vegetables that go in the kimchi. So in the blender here, I already have about 1 to 2 yellow onions quartered, and I forgot to mention, to get garlic, but I tend to juice garlic, so this is just like leftover pulp, which tends to be a little stronger than the store-bought garlic minced up that you can buy. And then the ginger that I had earlier, I already peeled the exterior of the skin and chopped it up, so that's in there. Then this dried shrimp that I said earlier, I had already rounded up, so I'm going to add that to this. Then we want to add about half cup fish sauce. And if you're wondering what type of fish sauce, you should be able to find any type of fish sauce in local stores or the Asian food stores. This one that I got is Thai. So, all right, so we added all that, plus, let's see, got the garlic cloves, ginger, whole onion, and that should be it for the processing part. So let's blend that. Oops. Wait a minute. Okay, once it's like, basically looks like applesauce, but so that portion is done. So the next step that we're gonna do is make the porridge that we pour into the fresh kimchi that's cut up. Okay, this is a magic hour. So we got all the ingredients all together. Got the drained kimchi that I rinsed and washed 3 times and let it drain in the sink. Got the chopped up vegetables here, ready to go. Got a big bowl so that we can mix everything together. I got the porridge over there, and then no, actually, yeah, that's the grinded up vegetables like onions and everything. Then I got the porridge over here that's cooling down. So I highly recommend it. Hopefully you guys can hear it because I have the fan on, because you'll want it. You need to do this in a very ventilated area because we're going to be adding the red chili powder to this. So the combination of the chili powder plus the onions and garlic, it makes like kind of like a, makes your eyes burn, let's just say. And I highly recommend wearing some gloves because as you're mixing all the ingredients, it starts to kind of burn your hands. So here's the porridge material. See if I can get this all in one bowl. Oftentimes when I add all the ingredients, it starts to overflow, but let's see how far I get. So we have to add that. Oh, key ingredients. So 1 cup of the red powder, however much or however little. More, obviously, the more you add, the spicier it will be. And I tried to kind of adjust over time because it is very spicy initially. But I want to save on our family's gut. So I add about close to a cup, but not exactly, just so that it's still palatable. So about that much. Add that. Then I try and add the vegetables. I think over time I'll probably buy even a bigger bowl because I've seen my people use very large bowls in order to do this, and now I understand why. Makes it so much easier. So here's the brown porridge that I had made. Key part in all this is we're trying to mix all the ingredients together. Vegetables, cabbage, if only you guys could smell the scents that's coming from all this, all the mixed ingredients. It's so yummy. Maybe that'll be something that they'll invent in the future, is a way to teleport the ability to smell through the videos. That way then it's a full-on sensory experience. I don't know about you guys, but my mouth is watering, my eyes are watering. If you guys believed in vampires, this is a sure way to keep them away. So yep, you just want to try and mix it the best you can. So typically, with the whole kimchi process, as some of you may be familiar with it, it's all about the fermentation. It's no different than, let's say, sauerkraut. So after I'm done mixing all this together and I start packaging it up and put it, key word is to put it in the fridge, You won't want it to start fermenting to allow the juices and all the spices to get it to start fermenting. And as the days go by, the longer it sits in the mixture, the more it starts to almost like do a pickling type of process. And so if we tasted this tomorrow, it'd be very fresh, but usually by the second to third day being in the fridge, it starts to really ferment and taste really good at that point. And usually after 3 to 4 days, it starts to kind of break it down. The longer the kimchi sits in the fridge and the longer it goes, the more vinegary it starts to taste. So ideally, for us at least, we like the kimchi at the best on the third day, because it's all the flavors have really mixed in, and it just tastes so good with just kind of like an added secondary little, for instance, like, you know, kimchi burgers. The kimchi goes excellent with any type of beef, chicken, pork type of meals. So anyways, I'm gonna stop mixing that. I gotta find my containers to start packaging this up to let it sit in the fridge. So stick around. So this next phase, you want to prepare the porridge, they call. So this is about 2 cups of water that you want to boil. And all that heats up. So while that heats up, you want to add 2 tablespoons of the sweet rice flour. Well, that heats up. So what's going to basically happen is that this liquid consistency is going to be looking like water, but it's going to thicken up, hence the word porridge. And I also want to add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And this is just dark brown sugar, or you can use light brown, it doesn't matter. Or I've also seen recipes where people say to just use sugar too, whichever your preference is. So you want to just keep stirring until it starts to thicken. I've used both light brown and dark brown sugar. It doesn't seem to have that much difference, but it does make it taste really well. Let that boil. And once it starts to get a little warmer, you'll notice it gets thick pretty quickly. So just kind of have to keep an eye on it. It's like a thickening agent. There we go. You can see it's starting to thicken as we speak. That only took maybe like once the water started to boil a little bit and get warm, and we added the sweet rice flour, it didn't take long. So yeah, that's exactly what you want, that little thicker consistency. So turn off the heat and let that cool down. Hey everybody, welcome back. So today is Monday and I made this on a Friday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it's been about 3 days sitting. So after you saw me make the fresh kimchi, I put it in this container, which is a recent gift actually from our nephew. So this is a natural fermentation type of container for kimchi or sauerkraut. So it has like this little inside lid. If you can see, when you put it in, it actually releases all the air, and then there's like a little plug that you put on. So what it is allowing it to do is to soak in the juices of the natural fermentation process, and you want a lot of the air to escape. So, and it just has a nice flavor. So this is a finished product. So I just made fresh rice, and I have some leftover chicken, and I like my seaweed that goes with this, to me, in my opinion, but actually that's completely optional. So yeah, a little bit of chicken, a little bit of rice. You can't go wrong with that. So fresh. Just the combination is so good. So yeah, that's how I do kimchi and how I soak it and everything. And looking back on my video, I realized that I forgot to put the Asian pear in it, which that's optional too. Some people do Asian pear, some people will do apple, and what that causes it for the dish to be naturally sweet. And some people don't like that at all, so they leave that out. So that's just kind of another option to make kimchi. So quickly, a little backstory. So I'm Korean American. I was adopted at 4 from South Korea, and I grew up in America for over 40 years now, and I've always enjoyed the food of my people, I guess you could say. I had a privilege to go and visit Korea back in 1997 on a mission trip, and I really got to experience the culture and be with a host family, and I just so enjoyed it, and I never knew how to make kimchi. So thankful to YouTube and the internet, I was able to start kind of learning. I always wanted to have somebody to teach me, but nobody would take the time to teach me, so I just had to kind of teach myself. And this has just been a natural progression of learning each time that I've gone through the batch of how to make it and how to tweak it. So I really welcome anybody to try it at their hand at making kimchi. I think you will find that it's a very delicious meal that goes with any type of rice or any kind of meat that you have. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching if you've lasted all the way to this end, and make sure to like and subscribe.